what I traded moving out to the Southeast, now I still have a place back in Burbank and I work in New York a lot now, but what I traded was larger roles in smaller projects for smaller roles in larger projects that I'm honored to be a part of.
That's something that I did want to talk to you about too. And two parts of that. Number one, did you write your IMDb profile? The reason that I saw that is because the way it's worded is very similar to what you just said, which is just like the idea and the belief that there are no small roles, that every piece, like a pie doesn't work if one ingredient isn't there. And that is really fascinating. And one of the projects that I was very excited that you were a part of was actually one of my favorite television shows of 2019 now. Are we going back there? Which was Watchmen.
Right. Oh my God, are you kidding me? And when I think about that, when I say that now, I literally go, it starts with The Watchmen for me, for the thing that I was most excited. Besides The Big Short, The Watchmen for me, when it was out in 2009, when they were casting, I tried desperately to get in on the film. I'm a huge fan of the comic novella. And then I got a call from my agent and she said, hey, they want you to go to Atlanta and they want you to read for Fat Man in Crowd on a show called Brooklyn. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. And she's, no, I want you to go. You really want to go read for this? And I'm like, I really do. It's Watchmen. I'm like, where am I going? Next morning, 7.5-hour drive. I read for it. I changed all the dialogue, which you should probably never do in a Damon Lindelof project. And I added dialogue and I got very emotional and I changed the scene and then I didn't book the part. And a week later they called and they said, hey, they want you for a bigger role. Can you come back?
I think that's probably a pretty good way to do it there. And yeah, to see that, because I got to be 100% honest, and I don't know if you were either, but you can see my background. This is real. These are all, I have just graphic novels, just like literally thousands of them. I don't believe in sacred cows. I don't believe that something shouldn't be touched. I actually do not hate the Watchmen movie that Zack Snyder did. I don't particularly love a lot of his stuff, but I really don't mind Watchmen. I like it a lot. I like the ending a lot. It's a whole thing. So that prepped me. But with this one, I was like, so it's a TV series sequel to the comic. That's going to some people up, but I'm here for it. And I was skeptical. I didn't care, I think is probably the best way to look at it. Is I went neutral on it because I was like, man, there's so much weird coming out. And I watched it. I was like, I'm an idiot. This is the best thing on TV. That and Harley Quinn. Those two shows were like such beautiful surprises to me. And I went there. So yeah, you were telling me that you also, in The Big Short, you were one of the bond traders.
Yeah. I actually went in for Louis Ranieri. And when I moved to New Orleans, I knew that project was coming here. So I had two goals, The Walking Dead and The Big Short. Those were my goals. Never made The Walking Dead, but I've helped a lot of people book it. I've been close to being on The Talking Dead, all kinds of stuff. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but if you've seen Who's Your Daddy or a few other movies of mine, you'll see that I have Chris Farley's jacket from Beverly Hills Ninja, the one with the tiger stripes.
Yeah.
That was built by Greg Nicotero. And I sent that off this year to Greg Nicotero through a cast member, and he got it, and he was so tickled to have it back, and I felt like that was the right place for it. But Big Short came about, and I read for Louis Ranieri, and I was too young, but I grew these massive chops because I knew it took place in the 70s through the 80s.
Yeah.
And I got the call back, and Adam McKay goes, so buddy, before we get started, tell me about the chops. And I was like, dude, I knew this project was coming here. This had to happen. He's like, all right. We spit out the dialogue, and he goes, all right. And then I leave, and I felt really good. And then they called, and they're like, yeah, you didn't get the part. And they give it to some other guy, but he created a part for you, so you're going to be.
I love that. I do love that. I want to talk about a couple things because we glossed over Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah, again, another small part, but it's an introduction for a character played by David Strathairn. And I loved that. And it was on the bestsellers list for, I think, 124 weeks. And being able to be a part of a story that moves me. So when I have an audition, I read the book. Like currently right now, I'm reading The Devil in the White City. I have no audition for it. It's a movie that Leonardo DiCaprio is doing, Scorsese's producing, and they're trying to get Keanu Reeves to work on. But I tweeted the other day, it said, Keanu Reeves is currently in talks to work on Devil in the White City. And I tweeted, Charlie Talbert is currently in talks to work on Devil in the White City, but only with himself. And immediately the author of the book retweeted and was like, I know what you mean, man. Where the Crawdads Sing hit me like a ton of bricks. So to be a part of that was amazing.
Yeah, and it looks like your character's name is Mr. Mosley. I haven't read the book, unfortunately, because...
I don't exist in the book. I'm a character that's an amalgamation of different characters.
Okay, that is, man, you get that. That is a Charlie Talbert existence here. It's just, man, they just created something for me.
Yeah, you are a hodgepodge of something, and you're gonna make it work, kid. Come in and I do it.
And so, yeah, this looks like a real prestige film coming out this year, it seems.
Very much so.
Which is really exciting. And it's funny because now you live in Crawdad Central.
Yeah, exactly. Libby Newman, who directed it, I gave her the biggest squeeze and hug, and I'm pretty sure at one point I was like, "No, they call it crawfish here, and they get mad if you call it crawdads."
We always called them crayfish in Boston. I don't know if that's right or not, but are you
but I always called them crawdads.
You eat those?
I do. I do. That is a big thing here. Get-togethers, obviously not as heavy because of COVID reasons, but they just lay out this giant trough with 1,000 or so crawdads with sausage thrown on the table and corn thrown on the cob thrown on the table and spices, and it's just the most beautiful thing you ever eaten. And it just takes your stomach and flips it upside down and says, "Welcome to New Orleans. Land, sick child, grab yourself a mint julep." Anyway, can we do a little bit of Fight Club? So if anybody knows how to make the Wikipedia page, anal nitrates.
I have anal nitrates. God, that's so good.